And that story, of course, also we want our panelists to weigh in this morning on what they think about that particular story. And we're asking you this morning, of course, that question about the ticklish issue about announcing the results. Do you think allowing results declared and announced at the constituencies to be final could lead to post-election violence? Do you think allowing results declared and announced at the constituencies to be final could lead to post-election violence? Hit us on Twitter. AM Live NTV is a Twitter handle. AM Live NTV is a profile name on Facebook. And 20505, our SMS portal. Allow us also to just pick the brains of our panelists this morning. We have with us Captain Dr. Simiyu Werunga, who is the Director General of African Center for Security and Strategic Studies. Also, we have with us Professor Noah Midamba, who is a Vice Chancellor of KCA University and also an expert on foreign policy and defense. We have with us Dr. Apollos Machira, who is a criminologist from Egerton University, Dr. Mustafa Yusuf Ali, who is a national security expert and also conflict resolution expert. We have with us Captain Wanderi, advocate of the High Court and security analyst. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Right, yes, a very ticklish issue that is in court today. And everyone is eagerly awaiting to see the ruling, how it will go. Which way? Will it be the constituency level announcing this particular results? And if that will be the case, is this a spawning ground for post-election violence? Let's begin with Captain Werunga.
I think I'll want to pass that to Captain Wanderi.
The legal mind with us. All right, let's begin with Captain Wanderi then.
Yeah, Debarl, I think let's not presume that the parties and actors in this process are not aware of the implications of a post-election violence.
Yes.
However, I think the person who has appealed this matter is not any of the parties. It is the independent umpire, that is the IEBC. And why would the IEBC want to appeal against the decision of the High Court? The IEBC is literally tying its appeal on the provisions of Article 138, Subarticle 3, Paragraph C of the Constitution, which requires the Commission, not the constituency tallying officers, but the Commission, to verify, to tally, verify, count, and declare the result. That mandate is given to the Commission.
Yes.
And since it is given to the Commission, they are returning officers at every point. They are returning officers at the constituency level, who then tally, verify, count, and verify the election results for the wards and the constituency. They then, after ratification of those results, they then transmit them to the county returning officer whose responsibility it is to declare the results for the governor, for the senator, for the elected woman representative, and for the presidential tally at the county level. Now, after that, after all those results are collated, it is incumbent upon the chairman of the Electoral Commission to declare, to verify, to tally, verify, and declare the results for the presidential election.
Yes.
So unless we are talking about a situation where then we are saying that the returning officers appointed at various levels are irrelevant, then you cannot have a situation where one assumes or takes the mandate of the other. Because then, in other words, what you're saying is that the Commission will not declare. If anybody can therefore declare, then that would fly in the face of the Constitution. And the best we can do at this point is not get into the merits of the arguments raised by either parties.
Yes.
There is a reason why each of the parties is advancing their argument. But more often than not, I would rather we wait for the court to make its ruling. But I think it is not also good from a security point of view. It is also not good for one of the players in the game, that is one of the parties participating, to start threatening voters. Because the threats you are issuing, you are not issuing threats to the Commission. The Commission is a body inanimate. It's only staffed by officers who are in charge. The people you are threatening are voters. You're actually defranchising voters.
Right.
And for the first time, we argued here that we perhaps need to change the way the politics is played in Kenya, so that we do not focus on the political parties and the political players and the politicians. We focus on the voters and their rights to cast their vote and to have the feeling that their vote will count towards determining who rules over them.
But two prominent issues that are coming to the fore is the factor of the clarity on declaration and announcement, which they say this is diametrically different, right? So because this is actually, is it just a matter of semantics, or we need truly to get, to differentiate between declaration and announcing? Maybe you should clarify that as well.
You see, there are several actions there that will happen. There is tallying, and tallying is the actual counting at every level. And the tallying is, first remember, is not done at the constituency level. The tallying is done at the polling station. Once the tallying is done at the polling station, after the transmission by presiding officers at every polling station to the constituency level, what can the returning officer at the constituency level declare? What can he declare? Which elections in law? Where would, even if you go to the election petitions, you hardly have the election, the constituency, the returning officer being cited in elections at the county or the national level. He's always cited at the constituency level and at the ward level, because that is where, under the Elections Act, he can declare. That is the point at which he declares those elections and declares who is validly elected. At that point, what about at the county level? Can he declare for the constituency level? Can he declare who is elected as senator? Can he declare who is elected as governor, as woman rep? The answer is no. I mean, there is also a question of logic here.
All right. So what will be the act of declaration and announcing? Is just announcing, okay, candidate so and so has garnered this particular results, and this is what this particular candidate also has garnered. Baseline. That's it. But we don't declare, therefore, candidate so and so we announce or declare is a winner in this particular constituency. Yes,
at that point, there would be no declaration. There would be tallying and verification. But at every level, at the constituency level, at the county level, and at the national level, there are different ways of declaring. And by declaring, it means you're also issuing a certificate of who is elected.
Who is elected.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Let's hear from Dr. Apollos Machira.
The way I know Kenya and the terrain in Kenya does not qualify us to declare elections at the constituency level. I am thinking about a place like Laikipia North, where right now there is curfew. At every election time, there are usually a lot of conflicts. I'm thinking about a place like Tiate in Baringo North, Kainuk, Baragoi, where returning officers, for me, they can very easily be compromised. So if elections were to be declared at that level, there will be a lot of confusion. Again, our power surges and the communication networks. If we see it in Embu and Kiambu, I am imagining someone in Takwel Gorge declaring there are no elections, there are no results because there is no power. Sometimes returning officers are stranded in the bush, so you never know what can happen at that stage. So for me, I would want tallying and verification to be done at KICC. I cannot trust someone in Laikipia North, where I come from, because I have seen things. I have seen a lot of things. I have seen a lot of corruption in the bush. So this is a recipe for chaos. For a lot of chaos. If it is declared at that level, those places are very remote, and they may make us very suspicious. So let everything be done at the center. Let the Shebukati tally, but I can't trust some of these people in some of those remote places.
All right, Captain Werunga.
Now, I think the issue of the law has been taken care of. But I think let's look at, you know, these friends of ours in the legal fraternity like playing around with semantics. And it's very easy for somebody to understand what is announcement and what is a declaration. Surely this fellow at the constituent level will announce the results. And once those results have been announced, they'll be forwarded to wherever they're supposed to be forwarded. But that announcement of the results, you will actually qualify what each candidate has received at that tallying center. So what is the difference between the announcement of the results and what are you calling the other one?
Declaration.
Declaration of the results. Surely the numbers will still be the same, the figures will still be the same, they'll have been approved by all agents that are representing each candidate at whatever level of the voting in this country. And to me, I think as this country we like going through a lot of suckers from time to time. And at the end of the day, these are English words that may mean just the same thing, but having different spellings. Because what that fellow will say, Simiyu has gotten 20 votes, Wanderi has gotten 15 votes, that is an announcement. But nobody will change those figures. And if you are going to verify those figures, then you must have reasons why you are going to verify those figures. So I think it's good to watch the courts go through these things. But at the end of the day, Kenyans understand exactly what these words mean.
All right, let's hear from Professor Noah Midamba.
Debarl, I am very close to what Captain Werunga is saying. There are two issues here for me. One is the timing, and the other one is the track record. Our track record is not clean in terms of election. Between the initial stage and the transmission and the end result of what happened. And that's what brings the debate.
Yes.
The issue is fair and credible election. That's what Kenyans need, because we know the consequence of not having fair and credible election. The person defeated need to go home and thank the other one that win. Winning and losing is not the end result. The country must move on. And so here's the point. Why are we doing it now? What is this circus all about a few months before the election? Why now? And then let us look at the track record. So what works, whether it is declared at whatever certain time and the announcement are made a certain time, what matters to me is that record, certainty of that record, the actuality of that record is what Kenya is looking for. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Dr. Mustafa.
Debarl, politics in this country is messy, and commenting on it is just, let me attempt to comment on politics today. But all this, I agree with my colleagues. I think Captain Wanderi has put it very clearly.
Don't worry, Wanderi, it's the effect of fasting.
Yeah, I'm still jet lagged. Captain
Wanderi,
he has put it very clearly. First of all, and this is the underlying thing, Kenya's juvenile politics that is informed by pedestrian party ideologies. Yes. If at all those ideologies exist in those parties, is what is causing the problem. I don't understand even what people are arguing on at the courts. Some people think they are very smart in trying to twist, argue with words as if they were born in England. Yeah. You know, it doesn't even make sense to have that process that is going on in the court. The law is very clear. And you know, how does a U.S. how do they carry on their elections? There's not even a commission or IEBC to carry on elections in the United States of America. In Turkey, there is no commission to carry on those elections. They're carried on by, they're taken care of by judges. And we actually don't need these commissions, including IEBC, Debarl, to carry out these elections. And the reason why we are having these challenges in this country is precisely and simply because of juvenile politics, and we just don't have serious politicians, and they're just wasting our time. They're wasting Kenyans' time. Those who are threatening voters should go and sit home, should go and sit back at home, and not to interfere with the voting process.
All right, thank you. But we need to also see some of the, you know, the queries that maybe, or some of the outstanding issues that ODM has, or NASA should say in this case, and also the ruling Jubilee or the IBC. This is the case we can see there as well stipulated there by standard states centralized system position, that is the states, the government, and this is opposition's case for constituencies. First of all, they are challenging High Court ruling that constituency results are final as bordering on politics, and the opposition says it is not about politics, but curing the mischief drawn to encourage rigging. That is their bone of contention. Rigging is the issue here. Then we have, there is, second one, there is a danger of rigging and errors at the constituency level if verification is not done. There is a danger of rigging and errors at the constituency level if verification is not done. Then we have the opposition saying rigging is done during verification at the National Tallying Center. We can see now the disparity here. They are shuffling blame on the constituency, and also the opposition is saying, no. Actually, it is the National Tallying Center. Then we have the third one. Kenya is a single constituency when it comes to presidential election. The opposition says there are 290 polling stations for the purpose of presidential election. We have a fourth one. Presidential poll is different from other polls such as county and parliamentary. And we have the opposition saying there is one election that incorporates county and parliamentary. So we have the fifth one. The constituency returning officers can only deal with county and parliamentary polls. We have opposition saying IBC delegates its powers to returning officers. Hence, they have final say in the polls. 6, there is risk of plunging country into chaos if opposition's preferred method is adopted. This is what we have from IBC. And we have the opposition saying rigging at the National Tallying Center is a recipe of chaos for the country. And the 7th is maintains that case was filed in relation to 2013 polls and thus overtaken by event. This is a different case, they say, with a different issue meant to ensure a credible election in 2017. Maybe we can begin from the 7th, that if we've learned from history, we don't also have hang-ups with history. The post-election violence also was a very, very, harrowing torture that the country went through. And now we are actually here, sort of a deja vu, that the same scenario we had in 2013 or 2007 is bound to repeat itself if we don't change the situation. Do you think from the IBC's position on the 7th actually item, as history will bear us down, there is no merit for it, Captain Wanderi?
You see, unfortunately, IEBC here seems to be swimming in very murky waters. I mean, this is a High Court ruling. The High Court is a superior court and a court of record, and therefore any rulings of the High Court are binding on all courts, on the High Court itself, as well as all other courts that are subordinate to the High Court, and all other tribunals subordinate to the High Court. But are we
saying, in essence, then, if it's a ruling of a Supreme Court, this is the law of the midst and the passions, that it cannot be revoked?
Now, you see,
finals,
this is not a ruling of the Supreme Court. It's a ruling of the High Court.
Of the High Court.
So it is amenable to an appeal to the next court, which is the Court of Appeal.
Okay.
Now, And the IEBC is right to appeal to the sense that if they feel that that will impede their activities. First, even before we get to the question of the merits and the demerits of the appeal and the arguments, the question is, the parties, the players here seem not to trust IEBC. They do not trust the process they went through to recruit new members of the commission. So in other words, even if however super rulings we have from the court, if the players do not trust the umpire, then it makes no sense. And as you've rightly said, we are setting the stage where voters will begin to fear to participate in the election. And that is the danger we are falling into.
Yes.
Whereas a voter should be confident that I have gone to vote, I will go home and my vote will be counted, and the person counting will declare the proper result. But what we are setting the voters now is a situation where we are telling the voters, don't trust the umpire. Do not even think your vote will count if these people are the ones to count. I mean, that is the issue we are dealing with. And I want to agree with Dr. Mustafa. The issue we are dealing with here is not legalese. It's a question of mistrust. And the contempt with which the political class in Kenya holds the voters. That is the situation. If the political class in Kenya, for once, respected the wishes of the voters, they would respect the umpire. The voter did not participate directly in the creation of the current commission. It is the political class that negotiated and came up with the current commission. So it is them who should be selling the commission to the voter and urging the voters to vote and trust that commission. But we are seeing the opposite. So the question here is not a question of what the IEBC's arguments or what the courts will rule. It's a question of the mistrust being planted to the voters by the political players.
Right, Captain Werunga.
As usual, I don't like politics, but I think
Today.
let me say this.
But this is not really politics, because everything security is predicated on this, right?
That's what
As
I want
it
to
is.
relate to
Yes,
it now.
please.
You see, the issue is, and maybe my English is bad, but what I understand is that people in charge of elections at the polling station, constituency, whatever, are all IEBC appointed persons. And therefore, the people who are making these calculations, the people who are doing this tallying, are employees of IEBC. And they do that under delegation from the chairman and his team of IEBC commissioners. And therefore, if the chairman and his top team cannot trust its own people at the constituency and polling level, then what are we talking about? Because the essence of these people recruiting these officers to go to the ground is that they have delegated some of those responsibilities to these officers, so that they take charge of the elections at whatever level in our national election structure. And for this is my very pedestrian understanding. If I've given you a job as my assistant and I give you powers to do some of the things that I need to do, then at the end of the day, I still doubt that you cannot do it the way I've trained you to do it, which is tallying, counting, and whatever, then I don't understand what is going on in this country. And that's why I'm telling you, this is to me is a circus. I'm not a lawyer, but I don't understand with my little knowledge of delegation of powers and responsibilities, how their own cannot be trusted by their own, and yet it's the people who are manning these elections at whatever level of Debarl. So make me understand, because I'm not getting this.
Right.
You are not doubting your own employees at the polling station, at the constituency level, and they're the ones who will actually give the results. The rest are just agents. And by the time this person is saying so-and-so has 20 votes, everybody will have verified from both sides of the coalition, of the parties, and therefore whatever is coming out is coming from an IEBC official. So make me understand.
Yeah, make us understand, because I think then this is what Captain Wanderi is saying. There is all the issue of mistrust, right? That we do not have trust even within IEBC itself. Because now, if we take the second item, for instance, of a standard, where it says there is a danger of rigging and errors at the constituency level if verification is not done. We have the opposition's taking special umbrage with this. They're saying rigging is done during verification at the National Tallying Center. This is within the remit of IEBC with the verification, because this is where they're having issues with. If they say they cannot trust also the constituency level to verify, so who are we left to trust? Dr. Apollos.
You know, history tells us, I think we should learn through history, and the experience is the best teacher. I remember Justice Kivuitu, I can't remember which elections he was supervising, complaining that the constituency returning officers were cooking elections. Some of them disappeared for days. So if a constituency returning officer disappears out of being bribed by the local politicians out there,
and their phones are off as well,
and the phones, you know, they disappear. So for me, I'm seeing poor people at the constituency level being bribed by some rich governors, and then they disappear, and that is a recipe for chaos. The IEBC Commission is the employer, so these people should count the votes and deliver them at the center so that the center can actually verify, because I have personally seen very corrupt returning officers. You give them a little money, they put on their phones, they disappear, they become drunk, you never to see them again. And then what happens at the KICC? So I'm saying, why can't we put presidential responsibility to the IEBC Commission itself, instead of relying on poorly paid returning officers in Kainuk and Baragoi?
All right. Professor Noah Midamba.
You know, we have chosen government of the people, by the people, and for the people. This is democracy. It is not perfect. But we are trying to move to a stage where we can respect our electoral process. And unless we respect and commit to our electoral process, then there is no end result that we can accept. In a computer, garbage in, garbage out. If we don't respect the result at the constituency level, then how in the world are we going to respect result at the national level? So the point is, we need to appoint credible people to supervise at the grassroots level. And the tally at the grassroots level must be consistent at the national level. And then Kenyan people will breathe sigh of relief and move on with their life.
So the biggest issue also that is occurring is the issue of delegation. Why is IEBC fearing to delegate this particular this particular duty to the constituents, to the returning officers in the constituencies? Dr. Mustafa?
Yeah, it still goes, Debarl, back to the mistrust that all my colleagues have been talking about. Kenyans, particularly the political class, create or supervise creation of institutions that they don't trust. And that is what is happening here. And we need to trust those people that we have entrusted with responsibilities. Let them do their work. If this goes on, Debarl, then the entire country is going to have such mistrust on IEBC, including mistrust that should not even be there, to the level that Kivuitu's had. And even if they are going to declare credible results, then people are still not going to trust that, and that might plunge this country into a post-2007 situation, and that's what the country does not need. The politicians should not even be commenting on this case before the courts. IEBC should just be allowed to do its work. Right. Let them do it. It's an independent commission. Let them just do this work the way they know it best.
Thank you.